Are going. What's going on, everybody? Happy Friday. Hey, before we get to today's video, I want to say thank you so much to everybody that's reached out to me with encouraging words about the channel. Listen, I'm not a techie person, so I know I've got friends that have called me and said, "Who's your mouth and the audio's not moving? And what's that rinky dinky PDF slideshow you've got going on?" I promise you guys, as the channel grows, it's gonna get better. I have fun talking factoring, man. I genuinely love the industry. And if I continue to just procrastinate over the editing and the PDFs, I wouldn't make these videos. So I just decided, you know what, I'm gonna jump in, I'm gonna make these videos, man. And as I'm learning more about these things, I'll edit and make better production of the videos. So just want to thank you guys again, man, for all the support you guys have given me over the last few days regarding these videos. So now let's get into the channel. What is going on, YouTube? My name is Usain Marquez, and thank you guys so much for tuning into my channel, where I try to give you guys some good information regarding invoice factoring. I started this channel because I've been in the industry over 20 years, and I've seen firsthand how this product has benefited businesses time and time again. So if I can, through the making of some of these videos, help a business owner make a better informed decision as to whether or not this is the right product for them, that's all a guy can ask for. And lastly, if you guys wouldn't mind liking the video, and please consider subscribing to the channel, as I'm really trying to grow this channel to kind of be a one-size-fits-all for everything with factoring. So happy Friday. Let's get into the video. Today, let's find a factor. I'm a factoring company, so don't, go ahead and call me if you need some factoring. But I want to really just go ahead. Maybe you're a business owner and you've seen some of the first few videos and you're kind of thinking, all right, this is kind of making sense. I didn't know what this factoring was, or I'm kind of getting a little bit more information on what factoring is. I'm ready to choose a factor. How do I do this, right? Some of you guys might be getting phone calls already from business development officers, right? But you still want to kind of do some due diligence. You still kind of want to do some homework as to what type of factoring company you want to be associated with, that's really going to kind of tailor to how you run your company, or how you're really envisioning running your company as it grows, right? So let's get right into it. It won't be a long video. Choosing a factor, right? So here's something out of the blue that I just highly recommend you guys consider doing, even if you're getting calls from salespeople, right? And it's really easy, guys. The first thing we want to do is we want to go to factoring.org, right? This is the International Factoring Association. This is where all the factors come that, meet the code of ethics and meet the standards of the factoring community and our members, right? And it's a really, if you go right here to factoring.org, you're going to be transferred right here, right? So this is the IFA, right? And you can even see it here. There's a thing right here. Are you looking for a factor? The IFA makes it easy for you to find a factor by using factor search, right? Again, IFA doesn't pay me. IFA doesn't sponsor this channel. I don't got everybody sponsoring this channel. But I really do want you guys, regardless of who's calling you and reaching out to you and offering their factoring products, go in here real quick, right? So if you're not getting a phone call from anybody, just come here to Factor Search, right? If you don't want to go ahead and call me to have me factor your services, come here to Factor Search, right? Click on this. It'll take you to a screen where you can just fill out an application, and it'll go out to a few factoring companies, and they'll be on the phone calling you about their services and how they might be able to assist you. If anything, you can also come here to Members, right? Members here actually takes you to a page where you could just, again, you can search for the factor. So maybe you want a factor that's in your city and in your town and right in your backyard. So guys, first things first, make sure that the factoring company you're dealing with has a good reputation. It's part of the IFA. I can't emphasize that enough, right? Go to the IFA, go to go to factoring.org, and make sure that you're going with somebody, or you're considering giving your account to somebody who has a good reputation in the industry, right? So that's the first thing I wanted to take a look at, right? Today, we're just going to talk about three simple topics. Again, we're just going to kind of brief it on the surface. And again, any questions, please feel free to comment below. I'd be more than happy to interact with you back and forth. So what are we looking for? Well, we're going to talk about the factoring culture, right? Do you want more of a larger scale factoring company, or do you want something a little bit more intimate, right? We're going to look at contract terms. And again, I'm a firm believer. My entire career has been in operation and in underwriting. I can't emphasize how much the importance of the back office support team is on top of your advance rate and what you're paying for in fees. So let's go into this first one, factoring culture, right? And I want to start this off by saying both sides of this offer great service. So I don't care if you're a large scale factor or if you're a mom and pop factor, they both offer large scale services when they're good factors. Good factors are good factors. But what matters to you as a business owner, right? Are you a business owner that, doesn't care if, you don't necessarily have interactions with the owner of the company or the decision makers of the company, right? You just kind of like sending in your invoices. You like your stuff to be verified, your stuff to get funded on, your payments to be posted accurately, and you go about your way. Great. There's factoring companies for that are on a large scale that have teams to help it run a little bit more efficient. So you send in your schedule and it goes to one department, and that department uploads that schedule, and then that schedule goes to verification. Verification gets done with it, and then it gets sent to somebody to approve it, and it gets approved, and you get your funding, and it runs smooth, and that's great. On the other side, and again, I'm not showing favoritism or anything, it's just my experience. I've always kind of grown up in small factoring, family ran type factoring companies, right? Where my client would have direct access to not just myself, let's say as an account executive that handled their account on a day-to-day basis, but if the business owner really needed to speak to the owner of the factoring company, he had direct access to him, right? So I know that that's how it was when I had my factoring company up until last year, from 2015 to 2020. If you needed to speak to me and you loved your account executive, but you needed to have a conversation with me, you had my cell phone. You had access to my direct line. And there's factoring companies that are like that, in which business owners really do tend to side to that. They want that business owner to business owner, availability. And that type of factoring company also exists, right? So both services are great. Does speaking with the owner of the business carry more weight than having a decision maker that still might not be the owner? You're always going to have a decision maker, regardless of what factoring company is there, that's going to be trying to give you the best service. But at the end of the day, maybe you feel a little bit more comfortable going, hey, I want a factoring company where I can speak to the guy that's in my exact same position, the owner of the company. I'm the owner of my company. That's the type of factoring culture I want to have with my company. So take those into consideration. Again, both of them, great service, both run efficiently, both run smooth. It's really just a personal preference as to maybe one of the things you might want to ask a business development officer when you're having a conversation with him, or when you're searching for a factoring company on your own. So let's move on to the next slide, right? And this is kind of the standard stuff that most people are really kind of diving in for when they're looking for factoring, right? And that has to do with the contract terms, right? So what are we looking for? Are there terms, right? Are there terms in the contract? Are you locked in for a 1-year deal, a 2-year deal, or is it a month-to-month basis? Now, again, both have pros and cons. If you sign up probably with a factoring company for a year, and you probably give them a monthly volume commitment, let's just be honest, your rates might be a little bit lower than if you go with a factoring company that says, hey, there's no contract fees, there's no monthly minimum, right? But the fees might be a little bit different. Now, look, at the end of the day, we're all competing for your, for your business. So you might even find now companies that are doing no contracts, no monthly minimums, which means you have to commit to selling a number amount of invoices on a monthly basis, right? Some factors might say, hey, there's no contract, there's no term, there's no monthly minimum that you need to submit on a monthly basis, right? There's no minimum per invoice that you need to send me, as far as don't send me anything that's less than $20, right? So those are things you want to take into consideration. The advance rate and the fees, again, I mentioned this in the first video. The advance rate, your standard advance rate is typically around 80%. Now, again, depending on the industry, there might be industries that have a little bit of a higher advance rate. Transportation is a really good example of that. Transportation, you're really kind of flirting with advance rates north of 90%, right? But all in all, you definitely want to be in that 80 to 85% range when you're being offered the advance rate, right? And again, the advance rate is the percentage that they're going to fund you initially when they verify these receivables and money goes out the door. So for $1,000, you're going to get $800, or you're going to get $850. But again, a lot of it does have to do with the industry. So, term of contract. Are you looking for month to month with maybe a little bit of a higher rate? Or are you looking for a 1 year term or a 2 year term with maybe lower rates, right? Monthly volume and invoice minimum. If you're hitting a consistent set volume, maybe you don't mind committing to that in order to get those lower rates. But if you don't know kind of where you're at right now as far as monthly volume just on your end, maybe you want to go with something that says, "Hey, I don't want to commit right now to a monthly minimum as far as that." So, if I've got invoices, I could sell it to you. If not, I don't want to deal with the stress of thinking, "Hey, there might be a fee at the end of the month because I didn't factor this month." Another thing you definitely want to look out for is and ask is, quite frankly, "Hey, do I have to factor all of my invoices with you?" Right? Now, the way that typically works is you're not obligated to factor all of your invoices of all of your customers with a factoring company. What most factors will ask, though, is that, "Hey, if you choose to factor this one debtor or second debtor, that all the payments for that debtor come to us," right? Whether you factored invoices or didn't factor invoices for that particular customer. And that's really done from a service standpoint. We don't want to confuse accounts payable and go, "Well, do I send this payment to Hussein's PO box and do I send this payment to the client's PO box?" So you shouldn't, you should be able to choose what customers you want to factor, right? So again, you're not obligated to factor customer 3, 4, and 5. But if you want to factor customer 1 and 2, the factor probably will say, "Hey, that's fine, but all the payments need to come to us." And if there's a payment that comes in for an invoice that wasn't factored and the account is in good standings as far as an aging, you're going to get that invoice right back as a non-factored invoice with no fees being charged on the invoice. So, term of contract structure, we're looking for either month to month. If you don't know yet kind of what that volume looks like, and if you do know what a consistent volume looks like and it might reduce your rate, maybe consider going with a term contract that does have a monthly minimum commitment, because you might maybe get a little bit of a better rate and maybe a little bit better of an advance rate. So after this, let's go to the next one, which is, I want to make sure here, back office support. It's 6 o'clock in the morning here, so I'm still a little slow here before going to the office. So lastly, and as always, man, back office support. Do you have one point of contact in regards to your account that's uploading, verifying, doing the collections, and doing the day-to-day? Again, some of the larger scale factors, no problem with them at all. They're trained to do this. They run this thing efficiently. But maybe some of the larger scale factors, you might have a point of contact, but that point of contact is kind of maybe overseeing the funding requests coming in, overseeing the payments that are coming in, overseeing the person that's making the collection calls on your account. Whereas, again, maybe one of the more smaller factoring companies, one of the more family mom and pop factoring companies might have their structure a little bit more intimate, where you have one person. I know for myself personally, that's how I set up my team. My team gives you one person. That's the person you send your funding request to. That's the person you hop on the call with and go, "Hey, so-and-so, did you get my schedule?" "Yes, I did." That's the person that's noticing your customers. That's the person that's verifying your customers. That's the person that's posting the payments to your account when the payments are coming in. That's the person that's making the collection efforts when the aging is coming up and there are invoices and we want to make sure that there's checks coming in the following week. So what's important to you? Do you mind a little bit of a larger scale where there's different departments and maybe one person overseeing all of that? Or do you want a factoring company that's got one person that handles your account, and maybe they've got a backup person that you even know as well, but you know that every day that you're going to call, you're speaking to this one person that's handling every aspect of your factoring relationship, right? And again, if you need to go above that person for a special request or something else, you're getting access to the owner of the factoring company. So again, guys, let's just recap real quick. I hope this video wasn't long. That's going about 14 minutes, right? So let's find you a factoring company. Even if you're getting phone calls from business development officers, go to factoring.org. Make sure they're in good standing with the IFA, right? And then what are we looking for? What do you want to consider? You're considering the factoring culture. Do I want a factoring company on a larger scale that's just running smooth here and there, but there's a lot of pieces that are assisting me in the growth of my company? Or do I want something a little bit more intimate where I know the person that I'm speaking to and handles every aspect of my account? And if I do need to go above that, I'm not going to a portfolio manager. I'm not going to a credit manager, but I'm going directly to the business owner that's going to be able to give me the answers that I need for the request that I'm asking for, right? And then again, contract terms. And these contracts can change, but sit down and try to get an understanding as to what these contracts are laying out. Am I required to submit a certain amount of invoices on a monthly basis? Is this contract going for a year? Or if after 6 months I get bank financing, am I free to go once the receivables are collected, right? And what's my advance rate? And when do the rates start, right? When do the fees start to calculate? Do they start to calculate from the invoice date, or do they start to calculate from the advance, from the day of funding? Those are things I really want you guys to consider when you guys are going out there and you're looking for a factoring company to help grow your business. Guys, that's the video for today. I hope you guys enjoy the start of your Friday, and I hope you guys have a blessed weekend. Again, if you guys have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out to me, whether on the comment section or LinkedIn or on Twitter. I hope you guys enjoy the start of the weekend. Take care, and we'll be doing some more videos, and I'll see you guys shortly.